Just before we talk Arsenal, Harry Symeou, cracking game going on at Alexander Palace in the darts. Let's get updated from Ian Danter.
Yeah, it's another deciding set that we're into here, Paul. Daryl Gurney, the number 22 seed and World Cup winner with Northern Ireland, went a set down to Callan Rydz, the Riot from Newcastle, but then posted a 110 average in set two, and then got himself 2 sets to 1 up. But Rydz fought back with another 167 checkout, his second of the match, to level things at 2-2. It's going with throw in the final set. Rydz has just pinned double 15 for it go 2-2 in sets, 2-2 in legs. So now, whoever wins this has got to win by 2 clear legs unless we get to 5-all, and then it'll be sudden death. You can listen to all the action unfold on this cracker over on talkSPORT 2, on the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel, or via the talkSPORT app.
PDC World Darts Championship update on talkSPORT with Village Hotels. Hit the bullseye this New Year's Eve. Party at one of our New Year's Eve events. 34 locations across the UK. Find out more at villagehotels.com.
Paul Hawksby and Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT. Just before we chat to Harry Symeou about Arsenal at Palace tonight, we heard Arne Slot say earlier on that he felt that the tackle by Mickey van der Ven that has ultimately injured Alexander Isak as he scored at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was a bad one. It's just that situation where that tackle anywhere else on the pitch, if he's passing the ball, they probably look at it again. There is a bit of a scissor aspect to it. I don't think it's deliberate. I think it's an honest attempt of a footballer trying to stop another player scoring a goal. Rarely when a player's in the act of scoring do they go back and look at it, or do they view it in the same way? That's just a fact of life. I don't think it was malicious, but, you know, we know these days tackles don't have to be malicious, do they, to get you a red card?
No, and it's one of them tackles, Paul, because you're a defender and you've got to get to it very quickly to stop Isak getting a shot off.
And he almost
you're going
does.
to launch yourself.
He almost does.
And I thought at the time it wasn't the greatest challenge, but you're going to want your defenders to try and defend in that situation. He's not going to. He can't allow Isak to. I mean, he scores anyway.
Sure,
but he's going to probably score easier if you don't get to him as quick as you can. So it's an unfortunate incident, and
the consequences of it are obviously worse. And you can understand Arne Slot. He just gets the guy starting to fire a bit and starting to play a bit, and he's going to be out for 2 months at least.
Well, at least, you probably won't see him till mid to end of Feb. Look, hopefully he can come back and up and running pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, let's move to Arsenal then. Arsenal take on Palace. We had a chat with Elliot Steele earlier on, and we expect a bit of a mix and match Palace. And Elliot was saying you probably expect the same of Arsenal tonight. Well, we know Gabriel Jesus is probably going to start, and Waneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly will get some game time. Let's have a chat now with Arsenal fan and blogger Harry Symeou. Hi, Harry.
How you doing, guys? You all right?
Hi, Harry.
Not so bad. I mean, I suppose... Look, there was a big piece, I think, in today's Times or Telegraph sort of talking about Nwaneri and Lewis-Skelly not getting the game time that they would ideally like. But, you know, there's a real competition for places, but nights like tonight do give them an opportunity. Do you expect them both to start or not?
I'm pretty confident that Miles Lewis-Skelly will start. I'm not sure that Ethan Nwaneri will get the nod, though. It feels like he's the one lately that's missed out maybe a little bit more than he should have. He's the one that you're looking at and you're starting to worry a little bit about. Not in terms of, is he good enough and will he develop? I think we've seen enough as Arsenal fans to know that he's a really talented boy. But the question is he going to be happy playing this sort of very minimalistic role at the moment? And that's the big question. I think with Eza there and having not started at the weekend, and then you look at sort of Odegaard being back in the picture as well. I think Nwaneri, who played a lot last season from that right-hand side, has been moved into a more central role, which feels a bit more natural for him. But he's got a little bit lost in the competition. So, look, I thought he would have played more during Odegaard's absence than he actually did. So can I sit here hand on heart today and say that I think he's going to start? I don't think he will start. Will he play a part? Probably, but I think he'll be a little bit frustrated with the fact that game time's been very difficult to come by for him this season.
Harry, what about down the middle, the centre-forward position? Are you expecting Gyökeres to continue and needing another game, or would you see Gabriel Jesus coming in? What's your suspicion?
My suspicion is that Gabriel Jesus will get the nod. I think, he's been building himself back up to a level where he can, play more and feature more over the last few weeks now. If you go back to this fixture, it was the same quarterfinal last season at the Emirates Stadium. Gabby Jesus scored a hat-trick in that game, and he had a really great period around that time, just before, of course, he picked up that latest knee injury. I think he's ready. I think he's raring to go. I think Victor Gyökeres, I think he's struggled, if I'm being honest. And I know not a lot of Arsenal fans agree. There's a lot of people out there that will say that it's to do with the service and it's to do with this and to do with that and him getting up to speed. I haven't been that impressed by Victor Gyökeres overall. And so I don't think there's any reason for Mikel Arteta to overlook the opportunity to hand Gabby Jesus a first start back in the team. I think when he's featured in recent weeks, he's tied play together really well, really nicely. He's not the out-and-out number 9 that Victor Gyökeres is, but I think we've maybe learned over the course of this season so far that Arsenal are just as good a side with a false 9. And maybe all this talk in the summer about needing a 9 to get us over the line was just a little bit overblown. I feel like we need one within our ranks and within our options, but does that need to be the go-to way that Arsenal play every week? I'm not sure it needs to be.
What have you made of Gyökeres, Kaz?
I think he's done okay. Look, there's always over a big fee. The expectation is always a lot higher, and the number of goals he scored in Portugal, and not only just in Portugal, but in the Champions League as well for Sporting. So it's a tough one. I'd like to have thought that as the season progressed, he would get gradually better. And I hope that's still the case for him, because there is a player in there that does offer a lot to the way Arsenal can be set up. He can drag players out of position, centre-halves, he can battle. Being okay, and you've, spent 60-odd million for a player, it never fits well.
No. I suppose he's got time to develop. Harry, finally, is this a kind of nice diversion tonight from a couple of pretty nervy league performances and Villa and City breathing down your neck? How do you feel about the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, I think when you're in Mikel Arteta's position where there's just so much demand to come home with silverware, I think you've got to be up for these types of games. There's an opportunity to move into the semi-finals. It won't be an easy semi-final should Arsenal make it against Chelsea over 2 legs. But I think, people keep asking the question, can Arsenal get over the line? I think if they show everybody that they can get over the line in this competition, which in terms of the calendar just finishes that little bit earlier, I think that might just give them that extra edge that they need come the running when it comes to the Premier League and the Champions League as well. So I think Mikel Arteta knows that. I think he sees this as a real opportunity. And I actually think he's going to make less changes than maybe some people are anticipating and predicting tonight, because he needs silverware. He's desperate to get his hands on some, and he'll see this as a big chance.
Good stuff. Enjoy the game, Harry. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Harry.
Cheers, guys.
Harry Symeou there, Arsenal fan, broadcaster and blogger. And that game is live on talkSPORT tonight. Adrian Durham will be at the Emirates. Jim Proudfoot and Scott Minto are your commentary team for Arsenal Palace in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. More from Cass in the next hour. We're going to be chatting to Ben Jacobs, looking at some of the transfer stories. Marmoush for Spurs and possibly Chelsea coming into the mix for Antoine Symeou in the last hour or so. That has emerged. We're here from the gaffers ahead of the games over the Christmas period. We've had 12 press conferences today, and some interesting stuff has emerged from those chats, and we'll look at a bit of a state of play around some of those teams. And Raul Jimenez last night matched Yaya Touré's record of successful penalties in the Premier League. We'll go through some of Cassie's penalty history, see if he was a dead-eyed dick like Jimenez was. Well, we know he did it in the 1990 World Cup, but we'll move on from that. We'll be chatting to Cass a bit more about that very shortly, but we'll get these sports headlines next.